Hi, Georgia. How you doing?
Hi, Zach. I'm doing really good, actually. Thank you for asking. I'm so thrilled to be here with you today.
Yeah, it's great. Are you calling from Rome right now, or are you in the United States?
No, I'm actually in the United States, thank God, with
Uh-huh.
all the coronavirus thing going on, it's been really hard. My country has the border still closed for us. So, my family's still there, and unfortunately, I'm not able to see them right now. But, I'm lucky that I'm here. We're able to work and, do our thing.
Is your family doing okay? Do they still live in the Rome vicinity, or are they from northern Italy? What part of Italy are they from?
No, they're actually from Rome, so
Okay.
it's the central part of Italy,
Yeah.
and yeah, they're doing okay. They're actually been work. They've been working because my mother works in a pharmacy, and my sister is actually a thoracic surgeon. So they've been really busy.
Oh, that's good.
They've been monitoring the situation, and they knew, way before we did how the situation was gonna be. But thank God they're okay, and right now everybody's well in Italy, so
Well, that's good to
they're
hear.
starting living again.
All right, let's talk about your new song. It's "Bleed for Love," and it's sung in English, which is fantastic. It really rocks. And I saw the video, which is really cool. I like how you did the cartoon effect with that. How did you make the video, and where was it shot? Some of the parts. I guess
Oh,
it. Yeah.
so the video was actually shot here in the area of Canyon Country, which is where my husband and I live, and it was very cool actually. The making, we went out. We took a few days to shoot all the videos, and then we used Adobe to edit all the shots, and it's been an adventure to do that actually.
Well,
Um,
well, yeah.
Very cool though.
Nowadays, you can do a lot of those functions and shoot the videos and edit with the Adobe products right on the apps that are available on your iPhone. It's amazing how much stuff you could do on your iPhone.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we had Adobe running on a computer, otherwise it becomes pretty hard to do that. It's a lot of videos to actually upload and read, so the process would slow down a lot if we didn't have, the right tools to do that.
Uh huh. Well, I use Adobe myself. I mean, I use it on the phone, and there's a lot of times I could do remote broadcasting from just a simple microphone. I'm doing that right now, but I'm using the gigantic Mac, powerful whatever
Oh
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, it's actually incredible what you can do with phones nowadays. I mean, the way my husband and I met is actually, on Facebook. Weird enough, I wrote a post about my father's death. It was his anniversary, and that was about 4 years ago, I think.
Uh-huh.
And for whatever reason, he was able to see my post, and he just lost his father too recently. And he wrote me a very nice note, and we started talking like that. And, talking about each other, I told him that, I've always been into music and I've been writing songs, and he told me that he was a music producer. So I was able to show him demos that I actually did just on my phone, old garage band on my iPhone, literally playing in the iPhone mic with the guitar, and, that kind of opened my whole future. So, yeah, it's pretty impressive what you can do nowadays with technology.
We're talking with Giorgia Vanni, and she's got this new song, "Bleed for Love." The video is available. I guess you could just search for it on YouTube. And I would like to talk a little bit about the song. I give us a bit of a background. Some of the other musicians that joined you on this, the whole, like, I guess I used the term genesis. Where did this song come from? And give us a
Absolutely.
backstory.
So I've always been quite of an old soul, or at least everybody tells me that, which explains why I've been attracted to much older people my whole life. So this song is really about establishing yourself and your identity as an individual in a relationship, and be who you are instead of what people want you to be. In my experience, in every relationship, though, not just romantic, it can be friendships or, anything else. When one of the people usually have more control, or, like they are in a slightly higher position than you, it kind of starts becoming frustrating when you try to meet their expectations the whole time. And, especially as an artist, I think what we try to do is just really talk about ourselves. So it becomes hard when the person that you're trying to talk about now is a different person than who you really think you are. So it's really about that, and I think that's kind of what I want to tell people through my music. Just be who you are. Be confident. Embrace who you are, and and don't settle. It's not fair, and yeah, and the making of the song has been really cool. My husband and I wrote the tune and the lyrics, and we put down a scratch guitar, scratch vocals. Then my husband recorded drums at his studio facility that is in North Hollywood. And he said, I really want a kick-ass guitar on this song because it's coming out really nicely. So he said, why not Mark Slaughter? And my husband and Mark have been friends since high school. They've been playing together. They've always been really close. And my husband actually also played drums on Mark's last solo record, which is called Halfway There. And so we sent out the track. Mark lives in Nashville, so recorded in his own studio. And it came back, and my husband and I were just like, "Whoa, okay, this is exactly what we were llooking for."
Well, that's interesting how that works. Why don't you tell everybody your husband's name? Because now they're wondering.
Oh, Joshua Sethigan. Yeah.
Okay, great. And he plays the drums?
Yeah, he plays drums, and he's also a music producer. And he actually just opened a record label himself, which is called Copper Room Records, which is who I'm signed with. And it's very cool. We're definitely growing. He has the whole production facility in the Steakhouse Studio in North Hollywood, Studio C, which now is called Copper Room.
Copper Room. Okay, that's good. So Copa is the name of the label?
Yeah, it's Copper Room Records, from the legendary Copper Room in Vegas at the Sandals Resort. As I told you, he grew. No, I don't know if I told you that, but he grew up in Vegas, and so he played there, and it was a big inspiration for him and his family. So that's how we wanted to call it.
Oh, that's awesome.
A place where artists can go express themselves. Where real talents go. So that's what he's trying to do.
We're talking with Giorgia Vanni. She's got her new song out, Bleed for Love, and the video is fantastic. The song is great. Her husband's part of the project. We have Mark Slaughter, who's also playing guitar on it. How long did it take you to record this song, and were you doing this under lockdown conditions like most of us are working right now in the United States and throughout the world?
Yeah, well, no, actually, this song was written actually a while ago. I think about a year ago, but it just stayed something like it sounded a little too pop for me. And, but my husband really believed in the song, though. He thought that there was like a cool hook, and we decided to start revisiting it. It was something that like we started looking at again like about, 4 months ago or something. So we sat down, we really analyzed it. We went through the lyrics again, we went through the rhythm, the groove. And, we started recording it, and I think that it took us like about probably, a week, 2 weeks to record the whole track with drums, guitars. Then Jesse Vasquez came in for playing bass on it. And then when we sent it to Mark, I think it took him just probably 3-4 days. He sent us a scratch track first to see if that was the right idea for the song, and we were absolutely thrilled with it. So he just did it, and then we mixed it.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, I think overall, it was written about a year ago, but, the whole production thing probably took, probably like a month overall.
What I find really interesting is when I listen to some of the older albums, I'll give you an example. I was just listening to this the other day, and I heard the demo of The Chain by Fleetwood Mac from Rumors. Completely different from the version that we're all familiar with. I thought to myself, this is really interesting how it went from this really what turned to be a very personal acoustic type of sound to this masterpiece that we're all familiar with. And I'm just amazed by those kind of things that I hear. What are some of your favorite bands that you enjoy listening to, and have you ever had that experience where you heard the song from the record that everybody's familiar with, that they may have heard it on the radio, and then you hear the demo and you think to yourself, wow, man, that's amazing how they got from the demo to the final mix?
Yeah, well, yeah, it actually happened. And, also in my experience, I told you, I used to do demos on my phone, and, I thought that I had a very clear idea of how everything was going to be. And then, my husband steps in with a lot of super talented people. We have, Lee Bench mixing it, Sam Adil mastering it, and, a lot of incredible people. And the song just takes life. It's incredible. I actually feel really lucky to be able to see all the behind-the-scenes process of it, because it's just like how much each person adds to the track is just amazing. It's just like really, a work that comes from everybody. It wouldn't be as good and beautiful and complete if you didn't have great musicians, great mixing engineers and everything. So yeah, actually, I used to listen to David Bowie. David Bowie was like one of my greatest, like, super favorite artists ever. And, I used to listen to the demo of, like, Starman, and I was just like, okay, this is just so cool. Or even Queen, they have on Spotify, I think, they have the raw tracks of Freddie Mercury's vocals that are, great. It's just so cool to do that.
Yeah, that is amazing. You grew up as a little girl, I take it, in Italy. How influential were the English artists, whether they're from the UK or the United States, on you growing up, and the rest of the kids in the neighborhood?
Well, it was very influential, actually. I gotta say that I'm really thankful to my father and my mother because they always loved good music. And, my father used to be quite of a quiet person. So we would take, like, these long drives in the car, and, it was kind of hard to talk to him, really connect to him. But the music was always, like, the center of everything. We would just drive with, hours of music, and he loved Pink Floyd and, David Bowie, Sade. And, then eventually I grew up to, like, more rock stuff, like, my idol, for example, is Pat Benatar. She's been, like, a great influence on me. And, but then I love, Journey, I don't know, Def Leppard, Motley Crue, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. You know what I mean? AC/DC, you name them.
Yeah. All those groups that look great on a concert T-shirt. Right?
Yeah.
What were some of the early concerts? Did you ever go to any concerts growing up? What were some of your concerts that you attended?
I did. I didn't go to, like, a lot, but I went to a few, and like my very first concert was actually Madonna with my father. I remember that very well. It was pretty epic. But no, I loved, one of my favorite shows was Tower of Power.
Oh,
they
yeah.
absolutely rocked.
Uh-huh.
And I saw Queen live recently. They were absolutely amazing. I mean, just so many great bands. I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been too much into Italian music. I mean, I love it. It's part of my country and part of my culture. But I just always tuned. We don't have as much rock. We have some big artists that, like, do rock, and I love them. But as for, like, the rock scene, it's always been pretty much England and the United States.
Well, I noticed when
that's kind of like.
I noticed when I was in Europe. I noticed when I was in Europe last May. Not this previous, 2019. Pink was huge in Munich. I couldn't believe it. There were Pink posters everywhere. I'm like, that's cool. So I decided at one point to take a train to Venice. It was only 6 hours, going through the Alps. I go to Venice. I get there, and it was raining really hard. It was early May, 2019, raining, and there was a blizzard in the Alps, or what they called a blizzard. And I put on the television when I was in the hotel room overlooking one of the canals, or from Marco Polo, or whatever it's called. And I noticed that the TV coverage was really interesting. It seems like the Italian television was really made a big deal out of what was going on. It might have been a simple rainstorm, but they were using footage like it was a typhoon. Yeah.
Actually, it really depends where you are in Italy, because, like, for example, Venice has the tendency of getting flooded really bad.
Yes.
So, like, even like a little rain can become a sort of like a little disaster.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it kind of really depends on the city you're in or the region you're in. But yeah,
I mean,
sometimes,
it was,
there's not really much going on weather-wise. We don't have hurricanes. We have earthquakes. Actually, we had some pretty bad earthquakes. Yeah. But, so yeah, maybe sometimes things get blown a little bigger than they are. But, Venice really does have that type of issue. It's actually pretty bad,
Well, I was really entertained. I thought it was funny because I'm like, I went through the Alps. There was no blizzard like they're depicting on television. But I noticed that they were playing a lot of really cool songs that we were watching. Some of the television, and I was entertained, even though I didn't understand the language. But then you had the English language that was in there, and I just thought it was really, really pretty cool. And then I thought to myself, well, I'm going to come back here again someday, and I'm going to have myself another sea bass, and I'm going to have some more lasagna, and then fly home. I could take about 2 days in Venice. Now, you lived in the area of Rome, which to me was always fascinating because I've always enjoyed the history of the Roman Empire and the history of the Catholic Church and the stories of the Vaticans and all the churches that are around there. How influential was that type of historic part of being where it all happened? How much has that influenced you in your writing and your creativity and your songs?
I think he had a great influence. Actually, before I moved out here, I was studying humanities in a school in Italy, in Rome, actually, and I was really interested as well, as you were saying, to the Roman Empire history, and Latin and Greek language. I mean, that's always been like very fascinating to me. And growing up in a city where you're surrounded by culture and arts, somehow. I used to be a very quiet child, and somehow art became immediately part of my existence. That's how I used to communicate immediately. I used to write, poetry, or I wrote books in the spare time. Wrote music. I love to paint. I have drawings. They're also on my website. Recently, I've been doing digital painting just because it's just easier during the coronavirus times to access my iPad than stores to get all the tools. I remember being a kid and play with the wet sand, and instead of building castles, I would literally sculpt faces and mermaids in the sand on my own. So I'm sure it meant something being in a city where, art and culture are valued so much.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, it's part of your DNA, right? And
absolutely,
you're fully aware de gustibus non est disputandum, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Taste is not to be argued. I took Latin as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But when I took Latin, what I tried to get the teacher to do is always say a group of words that we could put together to make it sound dirty or say something that was like a curse word. So the best we could get out of Latin was semper ubi sub ubi. That's all I could come up with. The Latin expression for always wear underwear. So I got that. De gustibus non est.
That's funny.
And then the church Latin, I was always veni vini vici, right? Here in the United States, when they teach Latin, it's veni vini vici. I'm like, what Latin are you guys teaching these kids? Because that's the wrong pronunciation.
Yeah, I know.
That always annoyed me because you took something that was.
You know what? It's kind of funny because every time, there are TV shows on Netflix and stuff like that where, whatever fantasy stuff or even horror movies. Whenever time they decide to use the Latin words to cast a spell or an exorcism or whatever, I'm always literally reading and I'm horrified, at how they're enunciating it and just going like, oh God, yeah, that's not how it's supposed to sound. But I get the point.
Yes, exactly. See, I get just as annoyed as you do when people do that kind of stuff. Man, it just makes me go through the roof because they try to westernize the Latin, which was a beautiful flowing language to me. Oh, I mean, some of it was a little complicated, but here I was at the age of 14 reading the Gaelic Wars, all about Caesar, and to this day, Caesar. To this day, I go with the Caesarea as opposed to Caesarea when we talk in certain circles. That's another thing that always gets me. Anyway, it's great. I've never been able to talk with any artist in my life about the proper pronunciation of Latin. If someone wanted to, if someone wanted to,
that's pretty cool.
Right.
It's very cool when you find out, how people are built as, little puzzles. We have all these little puzzle pieces that make us who we are, and you get to discover them one by one. It's pretty cool.
Well, I used to also do the Gregorian chants. You talk about an odd fellow. I was an odd fellow, marching to my own drum as a kid. Salve Regina Mater Misericordias Vita Dulce.
Yeah.
So I mean it's and it does somehow when you do these kind of things and when you experience your culture or other cultures, it permeates who you are, and I think it really enriches you. And in the end, whatever you're doing in life, it's just so more. I would say so much better than average. You want to be above average in life. So, Georgiana, how can we follow you on Facebook? What is your website so people can check out your art and what you got going on?
Thank you. So my website is www.giorgiavanni with an I, because everybody spells it like the States, so it would be Giorgia,
Right.
and then Vanni VANNY.com. And you can follow me, with the same name on Facebook, Giorgia Vanni Official, or you can go on Instagram, Giorgia Vanni, and you're going to be able to, see all the little updates here and there. We're going to release new music really soon. My record is done, so we're just going to start releasing singles. And, I would love to connect with everybody and, get things going and just, be us.
All right, cool. It was great talking to you, Giorgia. I'm sorry. I was thinking about my friend
Thank you, Zach.
I'm thinking of my friend Giovanni, who's now stuck in Italy, I believe, because of coronavirus.
Yeah, that was another thing. Oh, everybody always kind of calls me Giovanni because it's a very common name in Italy, and actually my nickname in Italian is Gio. So
All right,
Giovanni
good. It's good.
kind of just flows like that.
my nickname here in the United States is Fats. All right, so we all got a nickname. I don't mind it at all.